Well, it's Talk Birdie to me. We love a bonus podcast. And here's another one. Massive thanks to our mates at the Golf Clearance Outlet who beat everyone's prices, and Ping, who, like they've done for Nick O'Hearn, they'll help you play your best. And the Watch My Numbers app. Play smarter and use your data. Now, a bonus episode of Talk Birdie to me. Here's Nick O'Hearn and Mark Allen.
So, Nick, I've been envious for a long time of you, and every time you come in with that Tara Iti hat on, it makes me sick because I still haven't got over there and played.
You did get a hat, though.
I did get a hat. Yeah, I know.
From my good buddy, Mark Robertson.
I love it. But a few people actually said to me, you shouldn't be wearing a Tara Iti hat until you play it. Mm-hmm. And I don't listen to those people anymore.
I know you don't.
I wear it absolutely everywhere. I've got a couple of friends who are members of Tara Iti. They're going to say I'm coming over at some stage. Gareth Young is my friend, at our guest, Jim Rohrstaff, who pretty much runs the show at Tara Iti and Arai, both courses, and they are also partners now at the Hills as well. Nice to see you, Jim.
Good to see you, and had dinner with Gareth last night.
Did you?
Yeah,
how is he?
Because
he fell off his bike not long ago.
Well, that was a while ago. He's
Okay.
He's getting it around okay. He's a pretty darn good 10 handicap these days.
Yeah, he's handy.
Yeah, it went out a little bit after the shoulder injury, and I don't know how it hasn't come back, but it hasn't.
And you've been playing a few of our golf courses. So before we talk about the New Zealand ones, because it's just a trip waiting to happen, getting over there, and so many people who I trust in golf. Some of them say the Tara Iti's in the top 3 golf courses in the whole world, but you've just played a couple of our courses here in the Sandbelt. What do you make of them?
Fantastic. I mean, you guys are spoiled here. You've got you should almost be embarrassed of the riches of golf you have here. It's with where we're sitting right here, within 15, 20 minutes, it's as good as any 15, 20-minute circle in the world, I think. It's pretty special. So we played Kingston Heath yesterday, and it was absolutely fantastic. And PK on the South Course, which today was my first time seeing that, and North Course tomorrow, which I have seen. And it's a wonderful complex. The OCM boys did a wonderful job there, and the whole facility's great, and Heath Wilson runs a great show over there.
And you've got a number of the Tara Iti members with you on this trip. I believe some of them have even joined. Kingswood?
Yeah, quite a few, and we've got several at Kingston Heath and at Royal Mel. We've got the Sandbelt pretty well covered with our Australian members, but quite a few that tend to join some clubs when they travel around.
Well, there'll be people listening right now going, hang on a second, how can you join Kingston East Australia? There are international memberships.
Yep.
International memberships, pretty much available at all these golf clubs, and they're taken up by some people. Quite often they only play once or twice a year, and they're welcome. That's
right, and I think at Kingston Heath there are only a half a dozen or so international members, and most of them play somewhere between 2 and 4 rounds a year, so they help subsidize the membership.
Yeah. So let's talk about Tara Iti first.
Yep.
Were you there at ground zero when it was, just walking the land, when there were just stakes in the ground and dreaming about a course? What'd you make of it first sight when you saw the land?
When I first saw Tara Iti, it was an overgrown pine forest, but it was all sand. Everywhere you walked, it was sand, and the movement on the ground was just incredible. So we knew when we saw Tara Iti it was going to be something really special, and then Tom was over the moon with the land when he saw it. And, if Tom comes out with a big smile and 2 thumbs up saying, I've got a good one for you, you get pretty excited about it.
Yeah. Is it true it sort of came about because, was it yourself or Rick Kane was flying over that part of the coastline and just north of Auckland and happened to see it from the helicopter? Is that correct?
Well, Almost.
Okay.
So Rick Kane. There were originally 3 partners of Tara Iti. It was Rick Kane, who was the overwhelming majority, and then Larry Shakely, who's from Cincinnati, Ohio, and then John Darby, who's a Kiwi, who's designed some golf courses and a really good land developer in New Zealand. And John Darby's the one that actually found the land through a local iwi that owned the property as a treaty settlement from the government, and the very long story that Rick loves to tell that takes several minutes and probably a nice glass of tequila.
Yep.
he in essence got a cold call from John Darby that sent a package to Rick's family office back in L.A., and Rick happened to be flying over the property as he opened up the package.
Wow.
With his friend Peter Cooper, who had a beach place just down the road in Pockery. And as they were flying over it, he showed it to Peter, and Peter just pointed out the window and said, "It's the land that we're flying over, and it's very complicated."
It was meant to be by the sounds of it.
Very serendipitous.
And Tara Iti has been rated number 1, I believe, in New Zealand, and Arai, the two courses, there's the south and the north. And Mark, I'm going to make you very jealous right here, because I've played all 3 now, and they are stunning. And south has been rated number 2. Is that correct in the country?
It depends on the list that you look at.
Right.
The beauty of lists.
Yeah.
But in the latest list that just came out, I think it's Top 100, Simon Holt will kill me, I don't know the name, but top100.co.uk.
Let's go with that list.
Yeah, I think that's right. They've got it at 1, 2, 3, but it's Tara Iti, North Course, South Course. The North Course just opened 7 or 8 months ago.
So that has been rated. Okay. I didn't know.
So in the Golf Magazine rankings, the North Course has not gone on to the list yet. But from all accounts, from what I'm hearing, is it should, and it may go on higher than the South Course, which went on in its debut.
And do you, out of the, say, I know you're probably going to say Tara Iti is the number 1 out of the 3 for obvious reasons, but out of the south and the north, do you have a favourite, or is that like trying to choose your favourite child?
Like better? I mean, it's all 3 are great, and they're all so different. It's one stretch of coastline, but the architects, Tom and then Bill, we asked. So Bill Core of Core and Crenshaw, we asked both of those architects to make sure they didn't build Tara Iti number 2. We wanted 3 distinctly different golf courses, different personalities, so that when someone does come that doesn't have the ability to play Tara Iti and just comes to links, that they've got 2 very different golf experiences, and I think they nailed it. And visually they're different, the land is different, and it's fantastic.
And Jim, a little bit about your background. Is it true you were a golf professional a while ago?
Yes,
Okay.
long time ago,
Okay.
in my early 20s, and then I saw the light and decided that I would get into the development side of the business, and so I got into the real estate side of building golf clubs, and so I've been doing this now since the late 90s, early 2000s.
And the Vintage Country Club, I believe, is that one of yours in California?
The Vintage Club. So that was that's the only place I've ever been involved with that wasn't brand new. So the Vintage was it was established in the late it was 1980, I believe, when it opened, and a wonderful place in Indian Wells.
I've been there. A good buddy of mine is a member, Michael Fitzpatrick.
Yep.
I don't know if you know Michael, but
absolutely.
wonderful guy, and
he does the sports technology.
You've got it, Blast Motion.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a wonderful sensor for golf.
Yeah.
So Jim, can we get back to Tara Iti? And you're talking about Tom. That's Tom Doak you were talking about, in case people didn't pick that up straight away. Tom Doak, I'm a big fan. Everything he touches in my book, he just does it right. He doesn't move too much land. He's now, and this is when people hear this, he now helps Royal Melbourne. So Royal Melbourne have got him on the books. So if they want anything done to their golf course, they let Tom touch it. Now, and I think people in this country will understand how big a decision that is. What was it like working with Tom, building a dream course?
Well, Tom, I've worked with quite a few different architects now. I would say that Tom is the fastest mind I've ever seen with routing a golf course, and I think he's probably the best router in the business. And he and Core and Crenshaw, and we'll get on it, I'm sure, in a few minutes, but I'm a huge fan of OCM and the work that they're doing now, and I think that they're going to be a household name as far as golf architects go. They should be already, but I mean they're getting more and more established. But I would say that Tom moves at lightning speed. He sees things. If it were chess, you'd say 5-6 steps ahead. He just connects so quickly, and then as he describes it, you kind of go, oh, well, yeah, of course it is, but of course it's not. I mean, you don't just see these things. It's amazing. And then working with Bill Core at an overlapping time. Bill is a very methodical, moves a little bit slower, a little bit more deliberate. They both get to the right answer. Tom just does it insanely fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really neat.
And one of the things, I've only seen the photos, but one of the things that is so beautiful about the golf courses is what frames those golf courses. So, one, you've got the water, and that's always beautiful to have in the background. But sit the pine trees and the white sand. When he's building holes through the sand and the trees and, water in the background, how big a focus is that on for him? So it's not just the tee to green architecture, but what frames every single golf hole that he does.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Tom and all the great architects will look to use natural landforms both to play through and around, but also to frame shots, and to play it off of things. Seeing high dunes and that might hold up the back right corner of a green, and then there's a nasty bunker short left.
Yeah.
He does that very, very well. Where I think Bill Coore does it in a similar fashion, but Tom at Tara Iti, he's known as a minimalist. So is Corin Crenshaw. But what's really interesting is they're not afraid to make big moves when they need to. But what's amazing is you'd go around Tara Iti and you would think it's 100% natural because it looks like it's been there for 100 years already. But they on a few holes, they pushed around a lot of sand. But a lot of it was just, you would never know.
So I want to ask you, Nick, could you pick the holes that a lot of sand was pushed around on, or that?
Not really. Not really. And the reason
I'd call BS if he said yes.
Well, one of the reasons I struggle, I know there has been some move, because when you take the drive from Tara Iti to Arai, it's about 15 minutes or so, and you go through some wonderful countryside, but pine plantations and all that, and you think, this must have been what Tara Iti was like in the beginning. How did they create such an incredible golf course? And I'm sure there's some, manipulation done, but at the same time, I don't know how they did it.
No, you don't.
It's
you don't
incredible.
see it. You don't see it. And what's really interesting at Arai Links, there are a couple of parallel with the ocean dune ridge lines that are really, really sharp and severe that the architects had to figure out how to get around those and get over and get back. And Tara Iti was much more subtle in that way, that there wasn't a huge feature that they had to navigate. But they did a brilliant job there.
A couple of other golf courses, Barnbougle, one of the things you notice when you get down there, it's the same grass, same tees, greens, fairways, rough, the whole lot. Exactly what happens over in the British Isles as well. Without knowing, I want to know what grass you put down at all your golf courses and why.
Yeah, so we have fescue tee to green at Tara Iti. So Tara Iti being the first course, which is now, it opened October of 15. So we're coming up on 10 years ago when we were seeding it. We did fine fescue there, and fine fescue, just like it sounds, it's a finer blade and a little lighter, a little thinner. But with Arai Links, we ended up going with hard fescue. We did a lot of testing, and it's a little more durable plant and just does a little bit better in our environment. Tara Iti is the closest golf course to the equator in the world that has fescue tee to green. So,
wow.
And what all that means when you strip that back is it's a warm climate for fescue tee to green. So fescue does really well in places like Oregon, where you've got abandoned dunes, and you go to Scotland and
Tasmania,
but when it gets warm, fescue doesn't really like it. It loves what would it be, mid-teens to high teens. And anyways, we did fescue tee to green because it's the best links surface that you can play on.
Righto. Well, you've just tapped in on the 9th hole. We're going to take a little break. Have you tried a party pie before? They're very topical over here
I can't
at the halfway
wait.
house at the moment. We're going to get you a party pie.
They're not that good, don't worry.
And we'll see you on the 10th tee.
Beautiful.
Thanks for listening to Talk Birdie to me, and if you're up for it, we'd love you to subscribe, rate and share the podcast wherever you listen. And thanks to our great partners who make the show possible, Ping, they'll help you play your best, Watch My Numbers, the most powerful database golf app in the world, and the Golf Clearance Outlet. They beat everyone's prices. Now, back to Nick O'Hearn and Mark Allen.
So, Jim, I heard something about Tara Iti. I'll try and say it the right way. I say it Tara Iti, you say it
Tara Iti.
Tara Iti. Yep. I heard that without a member getting you, signing you in, you're allowed to play it, but you're just allowed to play it once. And that was it. Now, is that right or is that wrong?
In the good old days, that was correct.
Right.
But the club has come to a point of maturity now where it's it's full, and it's it's a with members only now.
It's an invite only basically scenario.
It's just accompanied guests with members and But you're exactly right. For the first 7 years of the club's existence, we allowed someone to visit one time in their life.
So I love that. That to me, that policy when you started added to the mystique. It added. I'd never heard of that before. This place is so good. We want people to see it. But you're only allowed to come through the gates once.
Yep.
I really liked it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to give you some credit for thinking of it, because I'd never. I mean, have you heard that policy? Have you seen it anywhere before in golf?
Maybe Sand Hills in Nebraska had something similar. But the way we did that, and I loved it too, and I loved sharing it, and the whole club, the members, everyone loved sharing it. It's a place that people light up when especially their first time, and so it's a very inclusive environment. It's people feel a little on edge when they get there, and then they realize pretty quickly that everybody's relaxed.
Yeah.
It's super low key, and you don't have to worry about rules. It's not uptight.
So, question number 2, just on the golf course.
Mm-hmm.
I've got one on the hospitality as well, because the hospitality is legendary already.
Well, Mark, just to Jim's point, once you have that first glass of wine, you just relax right into it.
So the hospitality already has legendary status around the world, and as it should, when places run properly. But the golf course, if I came over, I want to play from the back tees. Others would want to come and play from members' tees, and everybody's got their different level. I want to play. Talking in skiing terms, I want to go on a black run.
Yep.
I want to test it out.
Yep.
Has it got that capability of being stretched out and turning into a real test?
Absolutely. So the championship tees there, it doesn't look that long on the card. It's around 7,000 yards. So what is that, 63 and change meters roughly. But it's firm, it's fast, and if there's a club and a half, 2 club wind, hold on for dear life. The greens get, they are firm and they are fast. So you get on the wrong side of it and you can get doked. Pretty easily.
All right, so that's me, a scratch sort of player. What about somebody who plays off 15 or 25?
Super playable. Wide landing areas. So there are a lot of easy bogeys, which they're happy with.
That's why Royal Melbourne's so
moving.
great. That's why Royal Melbourne is so great. Same principle.
Yeah, and for the good player, you're going to be tested if you go birdie hunting. You're going to be tested and probably make more bogeys than you'd like. But you can, if the wind is down, you can score. You can really take advantage of the golf course because the greens are pure. Brian Palmer and his team have got it in just unbelievable condition. But it's scoreable, but it can also bite you pretty hard.
Yep. And the other two golf courses, Arai.
So
tell me about those. Just same principle.
Yeah, and they're still coming into maturity. The South course is only about 18 months old now, but it's just in the last probably 30, 45 days, the green speeds have actually just shot up, probably 1.5 feet. And so they're rolling out and they're firming up. The North course is only 7, 8 months old, and that's fantastic too. Some pretty wild greens on that golf course. Tom turned up the volume to about a 12 on some of those greens. Good. And if you understand the architecture, you see it once and you go, whoa, that was maybe a little much on a couple of those. But as you play it over and over, you start to understand where to hit it, where to miss it, where not to hit it. Yeah. And that's to me, that's interesting, fun golf.
Yeah, you betcha.
Yeah, and the thing I love about the TRI, the model you have there with the 2 courses, is you swap the members and the public on alternate days. So if you play the North as a member one day, well, then the public gets the South.
I love that.
And then they switch it the next day, and it just keeps alternating and alternating. So that is a fantastic model, so that the public can come in. And also, is it Rick's Restaurant there? I love that restaurant. You got the putting green out the front, which is possibly the biggest putting green in the world. I don't know.
2.5 acres. I mean, it is
2.5 acres.
Massive.
It's you explained it, I thought you said it was an acre. It's 2.5 acres.
It's called a hectare. Yeah,
it's called the playground. Is that
the
correct?
Playground.
Yeah, and you see kids running around.
Rick wanted to call it Jim's Folly because this was something that I was really, really excited to do, and wrapping around the playground there with every tee box has 4 cup holders, so we encourage you to take beverage of your choice out there and have a bit of fun.
Best idea I've seen on a putting green for sure is have little cup holders as you go. But the other thing about
I want to see a picture of these cup holders.
Yeah,
oh man,
I want to see it.
I might have
it to
taken
you.
a picture. I'll have to have a look.
Yeah,
But
okay.
so the real estate around the property, the accommodation, I guess at TRI especially, just fits beautifully into the landscape. The design that went into that, I'm assuming, is so much thought in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. We like the landscape to be the dominant feature there. So we wanted understated buildings that really nestle into the landscape and aren't overbearing in any way. So there aren't any white buildings. It's all timber, and it just sets into the landscape so well.
And is the membership still? It's not full at TRI. Is that correct?
Correct. So the New Zealand membership is a waiting list, but international. So Aussies, Americans, whoever it is, they can get in very quickly. Our process is fairly straightforward. So
nice.
Yeah, there
So
you go.
I've got to look at the cup holders.
A couple margaritas.
They're better than I thought because they're actually wherever the hole is. It's the flagstick for the hole.
No, that's the tee box. So that's the tee box. So you
That's a
tee off
tee
next
box.
to that.
Yes.
And that just sticks into the ground.
It does. So
I
there's
thought it
a
was
stake
a
at the
flag
bottom.
stick. Oh,
Yeah.
this is the greatest thing I've ever
And
seen.
so then there's a number at the top that correlates with the flag that you putt to. It's
Right.
so much. And we set up a 12-hole putting course every day, and it gets moved around. And
12
so
holes on 2.5 acres.
yeah, there's some wild putts.
Wow.
yeah.
They got 80-meter putts.
Yeah, there are a couple.
There's,
Yeah. Well, there's a putt we can hit from the top that's about 170 meters,
Oh, wow.
160 meters.
Need a little bit of wrist hinge in that one.
Yeah.
I'd say, Mark,
Yeah.
but you want to be careful about taking the divot.
Yeah, you might need a full hip turn on that one.
Yeah. And as far as the hills go, you say you're partnering there. How's that sort of process going at the moment? What's the timeline?
It's incredible. We're really excited about that. So we announced our partnership with the Hill family back in December. We brought in a great new CEO, GM, Rob Selly, who was at most recently New South Wales. He was at the Australian Golf Club for a long time, and a new director of golf in Justin Rapley, who's also a wonderful guy, and a new superintendent. And so we're switching a few things up there, and it looks fantastic. Service is getting better and better, and the golf course we just hired OCM, and it is not going to be a little renovation. It's going to be a brand new golf course
At the hills.
At the hills.
Wow.
So the existing course
I'm glad you said that.
is going to be completely rebuilt.
Well, no wonder you mentioned OCM at the start, and
They're fantastic.
they are fantastic.
Wow.
They
Yeah,
are. Michael Cocking is like the Brooks Koepka of golf course architecture.
I'm not sure how I take that. I'm not.
Yeah, well,
is
he's
that a
on
good
the way
thing?
up. You know,
Oh,
he's the
okay.
best.
All right,
he's the
all
best of the current generation.
Okay, there you go. Brooks.
That's what I think.
And
anyway.
when the
So
pressure
what about
is
Scotty? Who's Scotty then? Is that Tom to you?
Ooh.
No, Tom is the Tiger Woods of golf course
Okay.
architecture.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that.
But Tom's still in his prime.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know. Who would
that's-
be? You'd probably know more. Who would be the Scotty Scheffler? Who's the shooting star?
Oh, the shooting star. Well, yeah, I would put OCM in that conversation.
Yep.
I would also put Andrew Green in that conversation.
Never
He's
heard of
doing
him.
some wonderful things.
What's he
Okay.
doing? What's Andrew Green doing?
So he just did a renovation or restoration, I should say. East Lake. He did Congressional.
Ooh.
He did Inverness.
Oh.
He's building a new one that starts next year in Michigan, which is actually
right.
my home club where I grew up. And I grew up caddying there. Wasn't a member there. I am now. Now that I live,
From caddy to
11,000 miles away. But yeah, I think OCM is as good as it gets right now. They're wonderful, and
Yeah.
PK is a great example of that.
And they're doing Huntingdale. We had a look at Huntingdale.
I haven't looked
I
at
love
it
that they're redoing the whole joint
Yeah.
at the hills. I think that's clever.
Yeah, so we were in a position there where irrigation was failing, so we need to rip up the place anyways. We can kind of bandage it for the next 2 seasons, so we'll get going on that, I'm guessing, in April of 26, but it's going to be a fantastic. Their routing, they just locked it in on a trip with me about 3 weeks ago. It's off the charts.
Wow.
It's going to be fun.
Is the artwork staying, or is it going to?
It is. It's funny. The artwork is something that we would never have done, but it works in that place, and it's such a big part of the family and what they've done that it's really memorable. Everybody, they may not remember the 6th hole, but they remember the artwork,
Yeah.
and now they're going to remember the golf and the art. So
So I've
that's
saved the
goal.
best to last. I want to talk about the hospitality at Tara Iti and Tara Iti. Who decides, who's the person who makes what you do so well work so well?
Well, I think it all started with an attitude at the very beginning. So Rick, you mentioned the Vintage Club earlier. Rick and I met at the Vintage, and when we were talking about this with Terry Quinn, who's another gentleman on the board with us, and a small group of us, and Shaky, who's Larry Shakely, and Darby to a certain extent, but we were talking about these great clubs in the U.S. and really the concept of the answer is yes. What's the question?
Yeah.
And starting with that, rather than
that's what I said to you when I came back, didn't I, Mark?
Most places you go, unfortunately, it starts with no, and then you've got to convince to a yes.
Right.
And if you start with a yes, things are pretty good. And if you bring in the right members, you can get away with that. So one kind of cheesy saying we've got a couple of great GMs. So Matt Guzik is our GM at Tara Iti, and he's wonderful. We've got Brian Spicer at TRI Links. He's wonderful. But the whole secret sauce to the place is we've got staff there that we try to hire that have smiles on their face, natural smiles. Okay, so that's very disarming. If you walk up to somebody and they smile at you immediately before you open your mouth, you're disarmed. So then our membership side, we've got a no asshole rule, and that the opposite of no asshole is generally happy people.
That's
so
right.
Then the combination here is we've got happy people trying to make happy people happier. And so that's kind of the secret sauce.
Good on you.
Yeah. Hope I didn't give away IP there.
No, I love the no dickhead policy.
No dickhead policy resonates.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the other thing about the clubs, it's equity membership as well.
It is. It is. Yeah, different membership model than what's typically done in Australia and in New Zealand. But I think that we'll probably end up with something similar down at the Hills, and then if you guys know any good land, I'd really like to come do a couple of projects here in Australia.
Yeah, I've got one for you.
Okay, well, we'll talk offline because
talk
I don't really like
we
don't want to talk competition with anyone.
I got one area.
We'd love to chat about it.
Off the charts. At the membership model, I know at Augusta you can't say I want to be a member of Augusta. You have to be invited to be a member at Augusta. Mm-hmm. Is your membership model similar?
Yes, although so when we started Tara Iti, it was started by inviting 50 friends, and from there we just allowed the club to grow very organically, and like attracts like, and so we knew some people we wanted to invite day one, but we're not the type of club where you can't say that you want to be a member because then you'll never be a member, that sort of thing. Yeah. That's not us. So if somebody's interested, we'd love to hear and get to know them and chat with them and flush it out to make sure that they like us, we like them. But the equity model is one that's very common in the U.S. So in Australia and in New Zealand, it's very much a UK style of club and a model where you've got a lot of members. They don't pay a heck of a lot for their golf. Where in the U.S., one of the things that we brought down with the equity model is at Tara Iti, we've got 300 members, no tee times. You go play golf when you want to play golf. And there is such luxury in that where you can just turn up and play. And with an equity model like we're going to likely do at the Hills, we'll start it off at a price and we will build value as we go. And so you're actually a shareholder. And we govern the club, we run the club. But if you wanted to leave at some point in the future, it's not a sunk cost. You notify the board, we sell your shares on your behalf to the next incoming person. There's a transfer fee that goes to the club, and then you get money back. And a lot of times people actually get more money than they put in. And so
do you just divvy up the costs at the end of the year and split it 300 ways?
No, we make good estimations on what it costs to run the club, and we just assign dues like most other clubs do. Yeah, and then if we get into a point where we need a top up, we would do that. But we've never had to do that with Tara Iti. I don't anticipate ever having to do something like that. But we bump up the dues when we need to. We've just gone through a horrific inflationary environment over the last 3 or 4 years, as everyone has. So dues go up with that, just like everything else that you do. Your cost of food and labor and everything has gone up.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Mark, if you ever play golf with Jim, just be careful because I've seen him in action
Is he
at
all right?
Tara Iti at the member guest. He did make the shootout. I didn't make the shootout, so he,
That was my partner. That was
oh,
my partner.
come on! I saw your shot into 10. That was impressive.
We were playing good equipment.
Okay. Yes, of course.
I love the idea of the member guest. I
yeah.
think more clubs should
Well-
do that here in Australia as well.
And I'll tell you what, there's never been a bigger flex at a member guest than a guy coming up to the first tee and saying, "Oh, by the way, do you want me to sign the book that I gave you for the tee prize at the member guest?"
Nico, who can be a real wanker sometimes.
No. No, it was the greatest thing ever. I think everybody loved the book, and then having Nick there was fantastic.
Well, the problem was I gave away all my secrets before we teed off.
Well, that's
yeah.
right. People used it against you.
Yeah, I know. Ah, well.
Well, Jim Rohrstaff, thanks so much for making the time. Congratulations with everything you've achieved at all your golf courses. You sound like a pretty clever operator to me.
Well, we've got a good team. A lot of good people are involved. So, we'll just keep our heads down and keep doing it.
Good on you.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, Jim.
Wonderful.
Thanks for being part of Talk Birdie to me with Nick O'Hearn and Mark Allen. And if you want to be part of the show, drop us a message or comment on the socials. Or you can send an email or leave a voicemail at talkbirdie2me.com.au. Thanks to the great team at Ping. They're the best in the business and they'll help you play your best. And the Golf Clearance Outlet. If you're after top quality at prices you won't beat, check them out. golfclearanceoutlet.com.au. Talk Birdie to me's executive producer is Dan Bradley at Kaizen Media. Sound design, Daryl Misson at loudzebra.com.